After the success of the original Resident Evil trilogy on the PlayStation, Capcom was ready to move on to another direct sequel. Capcom had a new deal with Nintendo to make 5 games in total on the Nintendo GameCube console, and Resident Evil 4 was one of them. Now, I will mention that in the early 2000s, the team behind Resident Evil 4 wanted to take the series into a whole new direction, but this ended up being Devil May Cry, but I won't go far into this because I never played any of the games. The ideas were so different than the Resident Evil that we know and love, we could see why they made it into another project. But back to RE4. Resident Evil 4 was in the works since the early 2000s, and there was the infamous Resident Evil 3.5 trailer, which has a bunch of footage online. It looked really different and had supernatural elements involved. Another trailer showed some type of fog chasing Leon. Possession, maybe? Well, both of the old footage from the so-called Resident Evil 3.5 did look interesting, but like most Resident Evil projects, there was so much creative thought and ideas going on, they decided to start over, and here we have Resident Evil 4 released in January of 2005 on the Nintendo GameCube. Resident Evil 4 stars Leon S. Kennedy from Resident Evil 2, and the game takes place 6 years after the events of Resident Evil 2 and 3. This was after Raccoon City was completely destroyed, and the whole outbreak was long gone. Leon is now a government agent who is sent into Spain to look for the president's daughter who has been kidnapped. The reason, however, is unknown at the start of the game. I would like to point out that I don't want to spoil as much about the game, considering the game has been out for 9 years, but there's still people out there that haven't played the game yet, and I wouldn't want to spoil anything for you. The game is a complete makeover for a Resident Evil game. First off, there are no more fixed camera angles. They made the game from a third person behind the back point of view. This threw a lot of people off when the game came out, but it works out very well in the end. Leon's health is on the right side of the screen with the ammo provided in the gun that you have equipped at the time. When you aim the gun, you will be using a laser sight now, and with the new behind the back perspective, you can see where you will be hitting your targets in front of you. Everything is very smooth, and that's why most fans love the new style in Resident Evil 4. Another feature they have changed was the inventory. Now you can arrange your items and rotate them to your liking. And you can also purchase larger cases for your inventory that can hold more items. The health system is also a bit different. You still use herbs and first aid sprays, but your health can be upgraded with using the new yellow herb, which can be combined with the green and the red herb. Using healing with this new herb will make the meter of your health bigger as you progress through the game. The game also changes up how the safe rooms work. Instead of it being an enclosed room with an item box, you get the merchant and a typewriter right next to each other. This kind of switched it up a bit, but you still had the classic typewriter saves, and you had a new merchant there to help you out. Resident Evil 4 also allows you to buy and upgrade weapons as well as sell treasures you find through the game. Resident Evil 4 introduces the infamous merchant, who is a person you see throughout the playthrough, and you visit him when you want to buy a weapon, upgrade something to your liking, or sell treasures you have found. The arsenal of weapons is huge. There are several handguns, shotguns, magnums, TMPs, sniper rifles, mine throwers, and even grenades are added into the mix. It fits the game perfectly with how much you will be fighting through the game. With the merchant, you purchase items from him with money you find. You can get the money from killing enemies, bosses, or selling treasures. You can even sell items of your own. The balance of the new features fits very well, and it doesn't even stop there. I know it's a lot to mention, but the game is fucking awesome, so who cares? Ashley, the president's daughter, tags along with you as you try to make your way through the horror that awaits. She is not always with you through every part of the game, but when she is, she stays behind you, and you sometimes have to hide her if things get too rough in fights. She can die very easily, so make sure she stays away when things get crazy. She sometimes gets annoying, but whatever. She has a schoolgirl outfit. I guess you have to love Capcom for always giving these girls crazy outfits, but whatever, let's move on, because it's kinda weird. Resident Evil is known for its zombies and various BOWs we have come to know and love. This time, there is no virus. The people you run into during the whole game are injected with a mind-controlling parasite known as Los Plagas. The cult you encounter through the game are called the Los Iluminados, which means the Enlightened Ones in Spanish. The enemies this time around are more human-like and have common sense. They can attack and chase you down, and it still gives it a scare factor and keeps you on the edge of your seat. They change forms through the game and spawn with all different weapons to kill you. Even a chainsaw is thrown in there. You'll know what I mean when you play the game for yourself. People give the game shit for throwing away zombies, but it wasn't a bad move here. Aside from that, there are several creatures you encounter as well that are also controlled by parasites. A giant called El Gigante, a fish-like creature called El Lago, and several other stuff that I don't want to show you because it'd be giving it away. But let's not forget the regenerators. Oh my god. Just play the game and get back to me and let me know if you shit yourself when encountering them. The death scenes are also really fucking brutal, and I love that, by the way. It makes the game even more creepy. The survival elements are all here. Keeping your money saved for weapons and healing is important. Searching around for treasures is also something that needs to be thought of. Everything new in this game just fits like a glove. That's the best way to describe it. The new environments of the game are still very effective and creepy. They changed up the game with villages, castles, and islands. It looks amazing on the GameCube as well, which is what you're seeing in this review. There are several ports out there on everything as of 2014, but it doesn't get better than the original GameCube port, which holds up well to this day, and I find myself playing this port the most, even if the others have improved textures and whatnot. The game develops the characters really well, especially Leon, who we were really curious about ever since Resident Evil 2 was over. Even all the head members of the Los Iluminados are really well written in the game and play a pretty big role in each part of the game you play. Some characters even make a return. Yeah, and you fans out there know who I'm talking about. It's really cool to see some of these characters again. They show how the characters have grown, and they show them in a new light. Capcom wanted to tell a story with some old and new characters, with completely new gameplay and mechanics for the new generation of consoles, and they seriously hit the nail on the head. The story is very interesting, and makes you want to discover more about the new side of Terra that we have never seen before. It's seriously impossible to find a flaw in the game as a whole. It's so addicting, scary, and it's such a fun game to explore as well as go back and play multiple times. I've beaten this over 20 times on the GameCube alone, and that doesn't count other ports. Capcom gave this Resident Evil everything they had, and the effort paid off because when it came out, it was the highest reviewed game of that year and broke records. This game delivered everything that fans wanted, and they made it into a masterpiece. Some fans hate the new style and blame this for how Resident Evil turned out today. Well, this was Shinji Mikami's last time directing and writing a Resident Evil game, and being completely behind the wheel of the game. He changed the style due to the poor sales of Resident Evil Remake, which was praised but didn't meet their expectations, probably because it was only on the GameCube. Duh. But this was somewhat of a good change with Resident Evil 4, because it was done right. It is only Capcom's fault if they take the new style and fuck it up. They didn't do that with this game. Say what you will, but you will always have people who just hate this game and everything that followed. I actually play all the games with an open mind and appreciate everything Resident Evil 4 did right. This is a perfect game, and it's on my top 5 favorite games of all time. Long live Resident Evil 4, and thanks for watching.
Got something that might interest you. What are you buying? Buying.